first official campaign appearance. He's speaking to union workers. Let's listen in.
Hello, folks. My name is Joe Biden, and I am Jill Biden's husband. That's how I'm known back home. That's how I'm known most places. Thank you, Renise. And before I begin, what I want to do is I want to take a moment, quite frankly, to reflect on something that happened here in the state not long ago. A matter of fact, very recently. The reflects on the anti-Semitic attack that took place this weekend in Poway Synagogue in California. 1 dead, 3 injured. But folks, we saw hate in Charlottesville. We saw it again in Pittsburgh at the Tree of Life Synagogue, the attack of the deadliest in American history on a Jewish community. And we're reminded again that we are in a battle. We are in a battle for America's soul. I really believe that. And we have to restore it. So, folks, I want to thank Rich Fitzgerald, the county executive, Allegheny County executive, for being here, and Mayor Nesby, the city of Duquesne, is here as well. All right, you're here somewhere, Mayor. I got to see it. And International Firefighters General President and my friend for a long, long time. One of the guys in the unions that, as they say, along with the Teamsters, brung me to the dance when I started. Thank you, Harold. Thank you for your endorsement. And Kevin Schmidt, President of Teamsters Local, here. Thanks for the use of the House. I appreciate it. The help. And the President of Firefighters, Dave, where are you? The Pennsylvania firefighters. Dave, there you go. I passed right by you. Dave, thank you very much. And also a union that helped me in the very, very beginning of my career, and I've had great respect for, the United Steelworkers. Bobby Mack McCullough, president, and the building trades. Frank, Frank's here too. So look, you got it, pal. Look, the Pennsylvania Federation of Teachers, the Pennsylvania State Education Association, American Federation of Government Employees, AFGE, United Brotherhood of Carpenters, Service Employees Union, SEIU, United Food and Commercial Workers. By the way, I make no apologies. I am a union man, period. Well, let me tell you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, let me tell you why. Thank you. Let me tell you why I chose Pittsburgh to begin this effort. I believe that Pittsburgh and my native town of Scranton and my hometown of Wilmington and Claymont, they represent the cities and towns that make up hardworking middle-class Americans who are the backbone of this nation. That's not hyperbole. The backbone of this nation. I also came here because, quite frankly, folks, if I'm going to be able to beat Donald Trump in 2020, it's going to happen here. It's going to happen here in Western Pennsylvania. With your help, we're going to be able to do that. Thank you. Well, with your help, I think we're going to be able to do that. We're going to be able to do it in Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania, Northeast Pennsylvania, places where a little lately we've had a little bit of a struggle. But the truth of the matter is, I think we're coming back. So please go to joebiden.com and sign up and join our campaign. We need your help. We need your help. And folks, there are 3 basic reasons why I'm running for President of the United States. The first is to restore the soul of the nation. And the second is to rebuild the backbone of this nation. And the third is to unify this nation. We always do better when we act as one America. Today I want to speak about the second of these three, and that's rebuilding the backbone of America. And that is that we have time, all my time in public life, since I've gotten involved, I've been referred to as middle-class Joe. It's not always meant as a compliment. It's usually that I'm not sophisticated. That's why I'm middle-class Joe. But the fact of the matter is, I'm awfully sophisticated about why, how, and who built this country. Let me say this simply and clearly, and I mean this. The country wasn't built by Wall Street bankers, CEOs, and hedge fund managers. It was built by you. It was built by the great American middle class. And the American middle class was built by unions, by you. Look, folks, you know, that's the story of America. When ordinary people from neighborhoods like yours and mine, where we grew up, go out and do extraordinary things. That's how it's happened. When I look out at this crowd, I see the folks in my neighborhood in Claymont and Wilmington and Scranton, and I'm not being solicitous, I mean it. I see people with physical courage and brains. I see people who have busted their backs their whole lives to care for their families. I see people like the millions of people across this nation who get up every single day, go out and work like the devil to raise their families, pay their taxes, volunteer in their communities to make this country work. I see people understand that being middle class is not a number. It's a value set. It's being able to send your kid to a park where you know they're going to come safely. It's being able to own your own home and not just have to rent it. It's being able to send your kid to a good school, and if they do well, they can go beyond high school to trade school or college or beyond. It's about being able to take care of your geriatric mom when your dad passes, and hope your children never have to take care of you because you've earned a solid and decent retirement. That's middle class. That's not asking a lot. Look, everybody knows it. The middle class is hurting. It's hurting now. 53% of the folks in America don't think their children are going to have the same standard of living they had. To the best of my knowledge, it's the first time that's happened in a long, long, long time. The stock market is roaring, but you don't feel it. There was a $2 trillion tax cut last year. Did you feel it? Did you get anything from it? Of course not. Of course not. All of it went to folks at the top. And corporations that pay no taxes, the number of corporations that pay no taxes now has doubled since that tax. Look, guys, this is not good. What's happened here has happened for a lot of different reasons. But for me, one of them stands out. The basic bargain that used to exist that Democrats and Republicans used to agree to has been broken. And that is, if you contribute to the welfare of the enterprise you work for, you got to share in the benefits and the profits. If the enterprise hit hard times, everybody took a hit, up and down the line, from the secretary to the CEO. But that bargain's been broken. Now the only people benefited when a company does well are the CEOs and the shareholders, the people at the top. And the only people that get hurt when a company gets hit by hard times are workers. It's a one-way street these days. Just look around. GM. I worked like the devil to see to that GM stayed alive in the White House. Union workers, the UAW took incredible cuts in their future and their pensions and the less to get GM working, to keep it alive. The taxpayers bailed them out. They paid it back and paid it back that with interest. But what happened? Where the CEOs and the executives were the ones that did quite well. And the second they hit hard times, what'd they do? They closed plants. They announced they're going to lay off or transfer 14,000 workers. They also got that last year over $192 million in tax breaks. They could have given everyone they laid off severance pay if they had to. Could have given everyone. They did nothing. They bought back their stock, raised their benefits, raised their salaries, announced they were going to build their new truck in Mexico. Folks, no, I just did a rally for the United Food and Commercial Workers in Boston. 31,000 workers went on strike to protect their wages, health care benefits, and retirement benefits. Was Stop and Shop in trouble? No. Their parent company had made $2 billion the year before. $2 billion. So what did they do? They were going to decide that, notwithstanding that, they're going to buy back their stock and try to cut wages or freeze wages for their people. It's not right. Now here, UPMC, one of the largest employers in the state. No, but I think people have to understand this. You understand it. The SEIU is engaged in one of the most important organizing fights in this country. Folks, what was true 100 years ago in steel mills and coal mines is true today in our big hospital systems. Right today, the same is happening in big hospital systems. And it's going to take a strong union to get justice for healthcare workers. You know, so UMPC, stop the union busting. Stop. Stop trying to keep your workers organized. And I want you to know, UMPC workers, I am with you. I have your back, and if I'm president, I will fight like the devil to make sure you are not blocked. Unions are not blocked unfairly by this. It's economically wrong, and it's morally wrong. So what do? Folks, I think we have to rethink how we define what constitutes a successful economy. It's not enough for the stock market to rise. That's not a bad thing, but it's just not enough. Workers feel powerless and too often humiliated. I call it an abuse of power, and I can't stand it. Never have been able to. And when I think about work, I think about dignity. I think a lot about my dad, a proud, gentle man. My dad had an expression. He said, Joey, a job is about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about your place in the community. It's about being able to look at your kid and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. But folks, too many people, they can't look at their kids today and say it's going to be okay and mean it. And that's what we got to change. I think about so many people across this country today who are just not getting respect, not treated with respect. How do you get to a place, how do we ever get here, where people who teach our kids, take care of our sick, transport our goods, build our bridges and repair our roofs, keep our water systems safe, people who race into burning buildings, people who race into danger to protect us, people who pick up our garbage off our streets, iron workers, steel workers, boilermakers, plumbers, electrical workers, salespeople. How do we get to this place where they don't think we see them or hear them or know them? And maybe most importantly, respect them. Respect. And folks, so I think the question of the day is, how did we get here? How did it happen? What are we going to do about it? All across America, communities are hurting, with too many people left out or left behind. Our political system is broken. We're tearing America apart instead of lifting it up. And in my view, the major moral obligation of our time is to restore, rebuild, and respect the backbone of America, the middle class. As we rebuild it, we need this rebuilding to be all-inclusive, opening the doors to opportunity for all Americans, no matter their race, their gender, who they love, no matter who or where they're from, no matter whether or not they have a disability. All America has to be included as we rebuild. All America. And I guarantee you, this is, will remain, and will be my measure of what constitutes economic success. The dignity of work is my measure, which is about being able to provide security and share the joys with your families. How can a person dignity be maintained if they can't afford to care for their sick child or a family member because of a pre-existing condition, or because they've reached a point where their health care has run out and the insurance company says no more? Jill and I, and my family, like many of you, went through a year knowing our son was terminally ill. I could not imagine what it would be like if we were told that he'd run out of the amount of money in an insurance policy and they're going to have to cut him off of the palliative care he was getting. My Lord, think about it. How can a parent maintain the dignity, their dignity, if their talented and qualified child wants to go beyond high school, trade school, community college, or college, and they can't afford it? How do you get them there? Folks, it's not just that child is not going to have an opportunity to grow and be better, but think about it. Think about it. I'll never forget the day my senior year in high school and going down to my dad's office to borrow a car for the prom, driving down an old car to pick up a car for the senior prom. And I asked the secretary where he was. She said, he's out in the alley there, honey, behind the office. And I walked out, my dad, who was a gentle, decent man, was pacing back and forth. It's absolutely, guarantee, a true story. I walked in, he said, Joey, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And I thought, my God, what happened? Did something happen to Mom or my brothers or sisters before cell phones? I said, what's the matter, Dad? He said, I went to the bank, honey, today to try to borrow the money to help you get to school, but they won't lend it to me. I'm so ashamed. How many people in America today are in that situation? Hard-working, decent people, because the cost of education has skyrocketed so badly and access is so difficult. Folks, dignity. Immanuel Kant, the philosopher, said dignity, the definition of dignity, is that people should never be treated as a means to an end, but an end in themselves. That's how today's corporate culture works. CEOs in this administration see it a different way. They see workers as just a means to an end, not the end in themselves. Look at the record. They treat their employees in a way that it's only about how can they maximize their profit, not how can they maximize the circumstance for the employees who help them build the operation. They're squeezing the life out of workers. You know, when you look under the hood of the labor market, you see how tough it is for workers to negotiate. I don't have to tell you union folks that. You see how companies have become so adept at squeezing every last penny out of their payroll, how good they've become at tilting the scales in their favor. But it's not only making it harder harder and harder to meet our basic needs, they're doing it across the board. Not only stripping away unions' rights to negotiate, but your personal dignity. Just take a look. They're not only going after labor and unions to try to take away and diminish the right to bargain, they're going after individuals, all to suppress their wages. Do you realize that why on earth would a sandwich worker, an hourly worker making sandwiches, have to sign a non-compete clause? Promise, I will not compete with this already, because, and I know we laugh about it, but here's the deal, guys. They can't go across town to another sandwich place and get a 15-cent raise if they could. They can't even advertise themselves. They can't move because, why? All to suppress wages. All to suppress wages. You've seen these agreements at least once during the career, 40% of them. It's wrong. It's immoral. And it should be made illegal in the states where they try to do it. But to do the same thing with occupational licenses, why should someone who braids hair have to get 600 hours of training? It makes no sense. It's designed to keep the competition down. Look, folks, you can't just transfer your licenses across one state to another. They're making it harder and harder in a whole range of professions, all to keep competition down. Why should we get rid of these unnecessary hoops out there? Because we have to restore America's ability and individuals Americans to be able to fight for their own dignity. You know, we should stop companies from classifying low-wage workers as managers. You see it all the time. We try it in our administration. Why they do that? So they don't have to pay overtime. It cost more than 4 million workers last year $1.2 billion in lost overtime pay. reclassification. And by the way, speaking of overtime, it's well past time that the minimum wage nationally be a minimum of $15. It's well past time. It's time to start rewarding work over wealth. Just the first step is reverse President Trump's tax cut for the very wealthy and corporations. We need to eliminate these special tax credits from the tax code that reward special interests. Let's get rid of capital gains loopholes for multimillionaires. Warren Buffett said it best. He should not pay a lower tax rate than his secretary pays lower. That's because of capital gains. It's wrong. I'm going to change that so millionaires and billionaires don't pay lower taxes than firefighters, teachers, and I go on and on. We need to reward work in this country, not just wealth. And then look, there's much more we need. There's much more we need to do to build a middle class. In the coming weeks, I'm going to go into a great deal more detail about this. But you've been standing too long. Look, it starts with access to affordable education so that everyone can get the skills they need. 12 years of education in the 21st century is not enough. Simple. But it's got to be affordable. 65 out of every 100 jobs today require training beyond high school. 65 out of every 100. But what? We have to make it post-secondary education. Make training affordable. Make sure employees, the economy works. Not just for the wealthy folks, not just for people who get to four-year college degrees, but those who compete for job training and trades and programs. Look, guys, we can do all this. It means being able to have a quality health care for all Americans. Affordable health care was a huge step forward, the ACA, in our country. We made historic progress by extending health care to 22 million people. Americans who didn't have it before now have it, 22 million. We have to stop this administration's effort to gut it first, and then we have to move on and finish the job and make health care a right. Health care is a right, not a privilege. We have to give everybody the peace of mind they deserve. Whether you're covering it through your employer or on your own or not, you all should have a choice to be able to buy into a public option plan for Medicare. Your choice. And if the insurance company isn't doing the right thing by you, should have another choice. It means rebuilding America's clean, renewable energy, cleaner, safer, faster transportation, which will not only make us safer and make our commitment to our children, but will provide millions of good-paying middle-class jobs. It means investing much more in medical research to conquer devastating diseases like cancer and addiction and Alzheimer's. We have the ability to do that. Invest in it. Look, folks, we can do all this without punishing anybody. You know, when Reagan was president, there were $800 billion in tax expenditures, meaning tax loopholes. You know what it is today? It's over $1.6 trillion. We could send everyone in America to a community college for free. 6 million folks. 6 million folks new. By doing one thing. Eliminating one loophole of the $1.6 trillion. It robs the country of $17 billion a year. It's called stepped-up basis. It's a fancy way. If you get a capital gain, you're about to go cash it in. God forbid you get hit by a truck, you leave it to your child. They pay no tax. It's not an inheritance tax. It's $17 billion old 5 minutes earlier. If you eliminate that one, you could cut college cost in half, and you could, in fact, have $11 billion left to reduce the deficit. So, folks, quite frankly, only thing that stands in our way is our broken political system that's deliberately being undermined by our president to continue to abuse the power of the office. Donald Trump is the only president who's decided not to represent the whole country. The president has his base. We need a president who works for all Americans. And we can afford this. We can do this. And I'm optimistic for two reasons. One, I know the history of the journey of this country. When ordinary Americans like my family are given an even chance, just an even chance, they do extraordinary things. They have never, ever, ever let the country down. And the second reason I'm optimistic is that I know we are better positioned than any nation in the world to own the 21st century. We not only have the strongest military in the world, we have the most productive workers in the world, 3 times as productive as workers in Asia. North American energy makes us independent. The U.S. has more great research universities where all these major breakthroughs come from than all the rest of the world combined. No other nation in the world can match us. We can bring and be a positive force for everyone. Folks, nothing's beyond our capacity. The only thing that can tear America apart is America itself. But folks, everybody knows who Donald Trump is. And I believe and hope they know who we are. We have to let them know who we are. We Democrats and we independents who have the same view have to choose hope over fear, unity over division, and maybe most importantly, truth over lies. Truth over lies. Folks, it's time to pick up our heads. Remember who we are. This is the United States of America. There is not a single thing beyond our capacity. Not a single thing. So God bless you all and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
From the bone, from the shotgun shack to the Superdome,
All right, we've been listening there to former Vice President Joe Biden holding his first 2020 campaign rally there in Pittsburgh. Speaking to a crowd of union members there, you heard him go directly after President Trump, at one point saying Donald Trump is the only president who's decided not to represent the whole country. He said, adding, we need a president who represents all Americans. We're going to have much more on this at the top of the hour on Red and Blue. But right now we have some other news to report from the world of film. Director John Singleton has died. He was the first black filmmaker ever nominated for a Best Director Oscar for his groundbreaking 1991 classic Boys in the Hood. He is also the youngest director ever nominated. Singleton went on to explore themes of race and class in films like Poetic Justice, Shaft, and Baby Boy. He was recently acclaimed for his work on American Crime Story, The People vs. O.J. Simpson. John Singleton suffered a stroke last week. He never recovered. He was just 51 years old. You're going to take a quick break. You're streaming CBSN.